corpse. Remember when you were making out with your first girlfriend and you came right as she touched your leg? It was me, Barry. I jerked you off at super speed so it seemed like you nutted at just a woman's touch.
Hey, what's going on? Future Nick here. I just wanted to let everybody know that I just had a conversation with MamaMax, and it should be uploaded right now on the Half Baked Podcast YouTube channel. This conversation is good, but very different than the one that I actually had with Max. So, yeah, I recommend checking it out.
What have you got to say, Nick?
Oh, okay. What's going on, man? I've heard next to none of this. I don't have like a ton of time. I'm actually talking to Max tonight. So I have that in a little while. But so I heard you mention that you do like stuff with like politics and stuff. Like, I have no idea what kind of content you make on your channel, but you're not like a pedophile hunter. Like, I'm talking about like you did like the January 6th
I've helped
stuff.
Max with a few of his videos, but no, I'm not a pedophile hunter.
So typically that you don't really follow under the same like genre as him.
We are definitely, there is a huge overlap in the audience for myself, MamaMax, Nexpo, Barely Sociable, all that.
Yeah,
so
Nexpo,
it's more
MamaMax,
dark, it's
they
more
make
dark documentaries and stuff.
Mm-hmm, but like yours aren't typically like yours aren't being removed for the same reason his are being removed.
It's not that they're being removed for different reasons. It's that the broader point that Max was making is that when things are removed, there's too much opacity in terms of how YouTube handles it. So there's no viable mechanism for creators.
Nothing's fair. I see tons of situations where there's like bullshit that stays up and goes down.
It's not about fair. It's about it's about YouTube is not running the platform effectively, because if I'm a factory manager or something like that, and I've got tons of workers that are making sausage and all that, how do I know what's going on at the floor level if all I'm talking to is the customers who buy the sausage? I may not know about workplace grievances going on, harassment stuff going on. I may not know about
oh yeah, I don't disagree with any of this. I'll let you go back to that in a second, but my point I was trying to make is that like there are tons of creators who got on that video and they have like very different issues. Historically, obviously the pedophile like hunting community has to deal with this a lot with takedowns and stuff like that when their content features names of people that are typically need to be censored when they probably shouldn't, or stuff that like could appear to be sexual or get dinged for a reason other than why it actually should be taken down. Basically, this is similar to stuff that people who were documenting ISIS videos, like ISIS recruitment videos, had to deal with a couple of years ago because the YouTube algorithm couldn't dictate the difference between the guy critiquing the ISIS recruitment video and the actual ISIS recruitment video. It's very similar to stuff you see with like the COVID stuff right now, where videos of people like debunking misinformation are being taken down because the algorithm is sensing the misinformation in the video as if that's something that needs to be taken down. My point is that like YouTube sucks for a lot of fucking people, even in that video, people who aren't necessarily from that community. My problem is when you bunch all these people together with legitimate grievances and attach that to a very showy piece where you sound like a Hotline Miami character mixed with like Batman and the Mandarin from Iron Man, and say that YouTube loves pedophiles and they have to pick a choice. I don't think you're saying like all publicity is good publicity. I'm saying that I think this is going to be completely brushed off like his last one was. Are you familiar with him doing like Wake Up PedoTube in 2020?
I was in that video.
I said this about the last thing he did. I think that's the absolute worst way of going about anything ever. It's exactly what that Matt guy did with the, what was it, YouTube Wake Up, I think it was, where he paints the platform as a safe haven for pedophiles. That doesn't affect anyone except the creators on there. He's been fucked by YouTube a lot, MamaMax as a creator has, but his way of going about it is like burn the whole thing down for everybody.
Like that had next to no impact. It had such little impact that he made the same video again the year after.
I would so I mean it depends on what you are saying as, it depends on what you define as results.
So he says Charlie's video where he interviewed the CEO of YouTube aged poorly. I would argue so did his hashtag.
Hold on, let's finish the previous point though.
Oh yeah, same thing. You can go.
So it depends on what you are going to say is results, because did things in terms of policy change at YouTube? To be honest, actually, neither of us really know for sure. I mean, there's tangibly, we've got evidence that nothing. Whoops, sorry. We've got tangible evidence that nothing actually changed, but we don't know if there were softer things introduced in the code that might have softened things up a little bit. Because I will say, monetization has actually gotten a little bit better in the last few years. I have a much easier
I agree
time.
with you. That's why I was so weirded out when Mudahar said that it's gotten worse in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Mudahar will know better than I do. I don't know if you've ever spoken to Mudahar. Mudahar is a good friend of mine.
Oh, he's a regular on this show.
Yeah, no, I talked to him this morning. I love that guy.
Yeah. So Muda is extremely well versed in machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
He's been involved with some stuff in the past that would just blow your mind in terms of like what he's.
Don't worry, buddy. I was begging him for help on my college homework.
Oh, dude, it goes way beyond like stuff that he could help you with on homework and all that. I mean, this guy has written. I mean, he routinely writes machine learning algorithms and stuff. I mean, he knows his stuff, and that's obviously evidenced by just the content that he makes and what level of technicality that he's talking about the subject. But I'm kind of losing the plot here a little bit. So the results that I feel that were successful with the Wake Up PedoTube or Answer Us PedoTube, it got people talking and it got awareness, which is part of the lore, I guess you could say, of what is also taking place here, because that's also contributing to the conversation that we're having of this time around, evidenced by the fact that we've just referenced the Answer Us PedoTube and hashtag Answer Us YouTube and things like that.
That's kind of my problem. Answer Us PedoTube, wasn't that about a MamaMax video that got taken down and they didn't want to put it back up? So he made that whole campaign about that video, and but a year later it happened again. And
it was piggybacking off of Charlie's Answer Us YouTube. It all kind of came out around the same time. So I think that's kind of why he chose the hashtag that he did. I don't know for sure, but like, I mean, it is kind of a callback to something that was already on people's minds. I think possibly I didn't actually have that level of a discussion with Max about it at the time, but
do you think like referring to it as like PedoTube and saying stuff like the pedophiles that YouTube loves, or the children that are I forgot what the last part of that was,
children or something,
or that I think one of the ones was that did he call them complicit, or he used? I have the quote I can pull up if you need it. But like
the spirit of what he was saying, yes. I know, I understand the spirit of what you're.
I thought the middle part of that video was fine. But some people part of
my response to this, I need further clarification from you though. What is the problem you have with him saying that? Like why? What
I see it as misinformation. Yeah, I see it as misinformation.
Just general misinformation, or do you think there's actual damage being done? That's
well, material? I think a lot of the takeaway has been that like YouTube is like this pedophile cabal. I mean, if you look at it under every reply, that's
what is the damage that's being done to who by people believing that?
What is the damage to say that YouTube is run by pedophiles?
No, not run by pedophiles, but like,
well, that's what I mean. Like people think that like YouTube is a pedophile network.
And I don't want you to misunderstand me that where I'm heading is that I agree that that's exactly what the case is. What I'm leading to is
just because they're like a large corporate entity doesn't mean that's like a good thing to do. Again, like we compare this to YouTube Wake Up, but I don't think Max is like a.
So we discussed this a little bit earlier. We discussed this a little bit earlier. So let me just rehash what I said earlier in response to that. Do I believe that YouTube is actively promoting pedophiles? No, because I think we would see evidence of that.
I don't think anyone really thinks that. I don't even think Max thinks that. I just think that like the only people who do think that are the average users who are taking away from that large video.
If Max doesn't think that, why would he say it?
For like emphasis, effect, emotion, basically attention. Publicity.
Right.
Yeah, there's a billion different reasons, none of which are
the proof
good.
is in the pudding. And the proof is in the pudding. Here we are right now talking about it.
Yeah, but we were talking about the one last year too, and
So
then like we
let
don't
the
know
nuance take care of itself.
But like, what if
get
the nuance
discussion
takes
rolling.
itself to our advertisers, and now no one makes money?
So I don't think I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I don't think the advertisers are. They're obviously a huge part of the equation. But
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of this is about monetization. Some of it's about videos staying up, but other YouTubers on there are complaining about demonetization. Do you think it's fair by them to go the YouTube promotes pedophiles route when that's already been a cause for previous like damage?
There was a previous there. I was halfway to a point here. Repeat what you said right before that.
Oh God, I'm fucking tired. Sorry. Before that, shit. Well, you remember?
Because I had a very specific.
I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. I had a very specific response to something you were mentioning earlier. But basically, the advertisers are obviously a huge part of the equation, but also but I don't think there's as many of them that are invested on a level that YouTube seems to gaslight us into believing that they are. YouTube just takes a knee-jerk response. And I agree
with you. I think they're afraid of
point,
journalists, not advertisers. When journalists like Insider reaches out to people, they're like, hey, I know that you follow this creator like Shane Dawson or James Charles.
Right.
And like you haven't dropped him yet. Again, like this is how you get fucked. You know what I mean?
but this is coming from a place of fear. And it's well deserved. I mean, it's a terrifying platform that we all work under. But it
is fear, but it's also not the right thing to do. You know what I mean? Like it's not the right thing to do to paint people as like a platform of pedophiles to get your way. Like you talked about the Vosh thing, right?
The original point though is that I think I have a little more faith than most people that there are more intelligent people out there than there are not, and I know people totally disagree with me on that.
You think the audience is intelligent? We have to herd these people like sheep. That's why every time anybody like, dude, after you quote tweeted me, I had like tons of people going, "Oh, you picked the pedophile side. Guess you fuck kids." Like,
well, I have no control over what the
no, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying like people are dumb. I don't think that was your intention. I think you're probably.
But I think the when all things sort themselves out, I think the nuance does take care of itself. And the point of it all was not necessarily that. If the point was to say YouTube was actually running a criminal operation, I mean, there would be calls to the FBI with evidence and all that kind of stuff. The more important point, though, is that this is something we were discussing earlier. Although they are not actively supporting pedophiles, the actions that they are taking and the inactions that they take de facto do benefit that side of the equation, because if you take out the front lines of one side of a battle, it is a victory de facto for the other side. So if you silence somebody who is actively trying to defend people who can't defend themselves, like children, then what you end up with is a victory for the other side, because there's less people that are speaking out against it. And if you ever take a closer look at MamaMax's community, like if you ever hop into his Discord or just take a look at the comments in his videos, a very substantial amount of his audience are people that have suffered the kind of things that he's hunting down. So it's both cathartic for them to watch it, but it's also good awareness so that people are reminded of some of the evils that are going on in this world. And for me as a father specifically, I will tell you, it has had an impact on me. I have two daughters, and the way I talk to my daughters about, and the way I parent my children in terms of their online habits have been absolutely materially influenced by the content that Max produces, because I know what kind of people are out there.
And
I've been around behind the scenes.
Yeah,
I've been around behind the scenes while Max makes these videos. I've helped him make, not this last one, but like I helped him with his last two videos. I think technically 3 videos, honestly.
So but like I get it. Like the content's important to a lot of people, and I understand. Like I've heard nothing but good things about Max. Everyone who's talked to Max says that Max is a stand-up guy. But like if the children are like the number one thing, right? Like they're the number one issue here that needs to be solved. Why, if he knows why the video was taken down and it's not a conspiracy, why doesn't he just censor the bare ass in the video and re-upload it?
In his own video, I noticed he mentions that they timestamped what got him the strike, which was something they said they were going to work on, because that's something they've never had. Usually when your videos got striked, they wouldn't tell you why or where it was in the video, and they started doing that. So in his video, it got striked because it showed ass of a character, and he knows it, so he could have just taken it out and re-uploaded it. So it is at least one of the small improvements to that system that they mentioned back in the talk I had with her.
But
why, instead of doing that, go on a crusade to call the internet pedophiles?
So you're asking why, as if that was an option for him. That wasn't an option for him. He finally got told why it was, but the video is still taken down. And back during
he can't re-upload it?
Back during the Answer Us YouTube thing, Markiplier made a really good point that I don't feel like enough people are talking about, that YouTube has tools where creators can go in and blur out sections, trim sections out. So if there's an offending, very specific part of their content that is...
Oh, dude, you're speaking to the choir. I got hit this year on a stream.
Well, let me finish the let me because that's the context for a broader point I want to make though. So if you have the tools, let YouTube give us the option to use those. God damn it, there was a whole other really important point I wanted to bring up here. Let them use the tools and let them take out the offending content, and if they don't do it, then do it for them. But there was another point beyond that. I just can't remember what it was. But
basically, I was on a stream, totally not my fault. Bullshit strike. I guess because I was looking at my Twitter timeline, and Justin Wang. You know Justin Wang?
Oh yeah. I'm friends with Justin.
Dude posted a gaping fucking asshole on his timeline. Now, did I want to bring that up? No, but by the time I was able to save the stream, because I knew the stream was going to go down if I didn't get it in time, and I didn't want to delete it, as I was deleting it, I got a strike. Now, in that instance, I made the conscious decision, because I'm a YouTuber, I have a platform, it's much smaller than MamaMax, and at this point, I think MamaMax knows the TOS well. It sucks, the TOS sucks, but at some point we have to, understand, what's going to happen there.
Really quick, because I finally remembered that broader point I was trying to make here.
This is the third time
what the real point was, though, with YouTube using that, because I really don't think a reasonable person could look at the quote-unquote nudity that was going on there, which was a video game character, and it was just a bare buttocks. And I think
agree,
if you read it, and if you read the TOS, it says specifically if it's meant for sexual gratification, and then you can make the argument, okay, sexual gratification of who? But the broader point, though, is that the TOS, which is meant to be a shield, right? The broader point that where TOS and policies are meant to be a shield to protect the platform, protect the community, they're being used more as a sword than a shield. And so they may have problems with his content. And so what they latch onto is anything they can find that they can in any way.
Hold on. I have to stop you there. So wait, you actually think there's a conspiracy to take his content down?
Conspiracy, no. But I think that there are some unwritten things behind the scenes at YouTube. And I can tell you that it's happened to me too. We talked about it earlier with a really important video I had taken down, where they and you see this a lot more in the edgier content than you see in other types of content, for sure, where they may not have a written rule about certain content. They just really don't like having it on their platform, and they don't like to promote it. They don't like to put it in recommends. My content barely gets recommended.
Do you think there's someone at YouTube who saw that and was like, oh, I have to find a reason to take this down?
Yes, I absolutely do.
Okay, but like, do you understand why that kind of contradicts the whole thing of like the pedotube is just a conspiracy or
No.
just like a hyperbole? Because if you're
No,
saying that
it's
there are people who want his video down for like an ulterior motive, and then you're saying that pedotube is just like a hyperbole, then what's the motive?
So the motive is that we were talking earlier about how YouTube has this toxic positivity thing going on. They want everything squeaky clean. I think most reasonable people would recognize that what they really want on the platform is tech and news and ASMR and
not politics.
rated G stuff. The more rated G it is, the more they love it because it's very friendly to advertisers. It's not gonna upset the balance of this positive sunshine and rainbows atmosphere that they've got. And so, yeah, they do find ways to take down content. And I've seen this time and time and time again. I'm a very, very reasonable person when it comes to looking at the facts and trying to come to conclusions based on them. That's the entire shtick of my channel, really. And I see far too many patterns that support that than otherwise.
Oh no. All right. Okay, I have to like unpack that because that's a little. All right. The patterns. Fuck.
All right.
I'm sorry, that got me. I'm sorry. It's just like this. You see the difference in like the conversation we were able to have like 5 minutes ago, versus the conversation now.
Okay, so
like
let me talk about
gotten
specifics.
very
Let me talk about
conspiratorial.
specifics. I understand, and I absolutely understand why you would think that because that was a very vague thing that I said. So let me bring up some specifics. Video that I got taken down. It got taken down and confirmed by manual human review. So I did a documentary on January 10th about the January 6th riots. I took all the footage from all social media that I could find and I put it all in chronological order. It was like an hour and a half thing. My content was taken down and the reason they gave was that it was actively promoting false election conspiracies, which no reasonable person could have watched that.
And just to clarify, this was is basically a compilation video of all the footage you could find of January 6th, just in one video.
And once again, the reasoning that no reasonable person could watch that and come to the conclusion that it was promoting false election conspiracies is that the Democrats used my video on the Senate floor during the impeachment trial.
So you have a personal story, and I understand that.
But that's just one example. I can keep going with more examples that aren't mine. I can
give you some examples too. I mean, I was streaming, restreaming the January.
If you're gonna go after me and say that like I'm sounding conspiratorial, I need to back that up.
I want a second. So I just want to give you examples. Are you familiar with Onision?
I know the broad strokes of the story.
I think Augie could attest to this, that Onision is a story that it very heavily surrounds itself. It's a lot of pedophile allegations. A lot of them, dude. From like all these different places, rape allegations.
Like Chris Hansen screwed the pooch on it and all that.
It's definitely that's also another aspect of it. Because this was a story for like 5 years, but like last year it hit its zenith. So we're talking about like January time. I mean, Augie, you posted like a leaked Discord call that was at the time, I think, one of your biggest videos of all time. This was one of the most profitable topics. After Chris Hansen got into the story, there was like a 4-month period where everybody was raking in these fucking views and stuff like that off of a pedophile story. And then it happened again with EDP445, where EDP445 got caught in a sting operation by a channel that was ban-evading.
Oh shit, is that what happened?
Yeah,
I heard the broad strokes that there was some guy named EDP and all that, and he was a fucking pedophile, but I didn't hear he got caught in a sting.
He got caught in a sting operation by crazy people who were like calling the police and going like, "Hey, I got him here. Why aren't you coming?" Because they didn't plan it right, and it was just like, whatever. YouTube ended up banning that guy totally across the board from everything, even though he didn't get arrested nor convicted. But it was obvious he did it, which I thought was a good step in the right direction. But I mean, talking about like this topic banged, everyone made shitloads of money off of it. I understand that there's probably these scenarios where Mama Max gets fucked, where you get fucked. Fuck, I'm probably gonna get a strike soon too. I'm a pretty negative guy. But like,
I agree with that.
I think in the broader sense, when these stories are being handled, they're getting views. Like, they're not getting censored. If YouTube wanted to kill the Onision story, they probably could have done it, but like time kind of did that by itself.
Fair, the Onision story, like the views that story generate, and it could just be like natural, like lack of interest in the story.
He doesn't draw views anymore. So
they literally
his
did,
channel died.
No, they literally did kill him. They gave him I think in the same meeting they wanted to fuck over Leafy. He was in there too, so they definitely fucked him over. But I think they killed that story too, because any coverage of that story just got, and it wasn't just me, it was everybody that started covering that story like after like a few months when it was really hot, it just didn't get any views anymore. And
that's how like all these other stories kind of go. They go hot for a few months. People got tired of hearing about it. It was like 5 or 6 consecutive months. Then the Chris Hansen stuff happened, and then once people were like, "All right, this is fucking ridiculous," it just dove off of a cliff. And then everyone moved on to EDP and the rest of the stories that were coming out after that. But it's like there are viral pedo stories. It sucks when you put hours and hours of effort into cataloging content.
So what's the broader point you're trying to support with this, though?
My point is, there are things that can be explained. Like we can see like large quantities of data, and then there's one-offs and two-offs. I don't necessarily know of what you're telling me, even if you give me 5, 6 examples, 7 examples across multiple channels. Okay, I don't know if that identifies that like there are people at YouTube who want people taken out.
Okay, but like you were telling me that I was sounding very conspiratorial. Yeah. And so what I was trying to do was give you specific examples, and I've got tons and tons of them, but it doesn't sound like any of them are going to satisfy you enough.
Well, do you have any like messages or leaks? Because there was a conspiracy.
Okay, so that's
a real conspiracy to take out Keem and Leafy. Those documents did get leaked. That's a very old story. Augie just referenced it. I'm not even sure if it's real, but at the very least, it looks real compared to.
Well, I don't think either of us are going to come to a satisfying resolution on that particular topic. But I will say, and this is admittedly my personal perspective that is shared by many that are specifically in my kind of genre, that we all see the same thing. I'd probably have to bring in some backup that would be able to articulate it much better than I could, apparently. But my broader foundational point of that, though, is that I do believe that the TOS, maybe not more often, gay, but a very substantial part of it is that it is used more as a sword than as a shield. And what worries me now, to kind of support what you were kind of getting at earlier, though, honestly, and it is something that I do kind of share, is that if we force YouTube's hand, it might not end up the way that somebody like MamaMax would find favorable. So,
absolutely, yeah.
When Muda was going through the TOS on his video about this, it actually sparked a thought that I covered on stream yesterday, which was, what would stop YouTube from just adding one more bullet point to the community guidelines saying no more vigilante pedophile hunting, things like that, or whatever, because they don't have that specifically in the TOS, but they could very easily just add that to the TOS, and then boom, at the drop of a hat, every video that my friend Max has done, a few videos that I've done, lots and lots of other content is just gone forever from the YouTube platform, which serves really nobody, because the more important issue to me is that YouTube needs to just listen to its creators and understand that we're trying to fight what we feel is a good fight in terms of protecting people that can't protect themselves.
So I think I can offer you kind of a worldview difference because I think I think I pinpointed our disconnect. So you see TOS as more of like a sword that YouTube uses to get rid of people that internally they don't think fit the site well and they don't want there, right? Is that a good representation? Yeah,
I wouldn't say that's necessarily. I think it's definitely used as both, but I see too many instances of when it's used as a sword.
I've seen it, in my opinion, I've seen it used more as a shield. I've always thought that a vague TOS benefits the YouTuber because a very clear TOS could get people in a lot of trouble in terms of article bait. If you have people who are doing certain things and you have a very stiff TOS, then people can point directly to it. It is unfortunate when people get fucked on YouTube, but I think that if we had the perfect TOS that was like by the fucking books, where it's like very clearly worded what would be like what we can and can't do, I almost could assure you we wouldn't like it. Because the concessions that would have to be made for a very stiff TOS wouldn't be Nick DeOrio friendly. I doubt it would be NightDocs friendly. It definitely wouldn't be MamaMax's friendly. I think where we are right now is probably as good as it's going to get for that, because I don't know. It's always been my risk of what you just said. Like, if they wanted to tomorrow, they could just go around and say, all right, I'm banning all investigations that aren't done through police in terms of pedophile stuff. That aren't done through that kind of matter. I'm banning all politics related to vaccinations that don't cite someone with a PhD. I'm banning all drama that leads to harassment, and I'm banning for off-platform like Twitch does. Like, these are decisions that could be done at the flip of a switch. So yeah, I am a bit worried when you say that, like, this is a fear thing. Yeah, it is.
Well, I think we're going down kind of a path that I don't think I was intending, and I want to make sure I'm clear on where my stance is here. So let me read the specific policy that we were talking about here. Okay. Yeah. Let me just make sure I got the right page here. So, okay. This is the from the Google support page, YouTube nudity and sexual content policies here. Depiction of genitals, breasts, or buttocks, clothed or unclothed, for the purpose of sexual gratification. Mm-hmm. So, I think there are people that could look at the specific thing that was
arguable.
It's arguable, right? There's people that could probably be on both sides of the aisle that looked at that specific part out of a 1.5 hour video and make either argument. I mean, if you're going to say that was for sexual gratification for who, you know? But what's interesting is you go back onto the YouTube site, just type in twerk. And just based on the thumbnails.
Okay, all right. I do have to stop you there because I agree. I think that, like, there's a very unfortunate disconnect. And the reason why a lot of this stuff exists it does bother me that a lot of this stuff exists. But that being said, a naked man kissing a woman, even in VR chat, it's possible that the reviewer who was looking at that depicted that as sexual. And I know that in that video, but here's the thing. Several people in Max's own video were like advocating for bots to go away or at least to be diminished and more user control, like in terms of like actual manual reviews. Where do you stand on that issue? Because I'm actually really curious.
So that document, remind me to get into that though. But like the reason I bring up the fact that content is not evenly enforced throughout the platform is evidence to the fact that TOS is used sometimes as a sword instead of a shield, where it's certain,
or it's just evidence that there's two different reviewers. One has a different worldview than another. These people
but if that same reviewer knows that there's other stuff going on the site, why do all these twerk videos, like for example, why do some music videos that are clearly designed?
So as far as I know from music videos, some of which don't get traditional advertisements, they get specifically like funded through them. Like there's like a rule for big labels.
But it's still the same policy. It's still the same site-wide policy, though.
I don't think that they're held to the same standard. I think
exactly.
YouTube might be upfront about that. Yeah, but I'm not arguing that. I'm not. But I think I opened with the fact that people aren't held to the same standard, and the website sucks in that regard.
Okay. So ask me that other question
really
again.
Disagree. Okay. So in the video, they talk about manual reviews. We're talking about manual reviews now. Do you think that where do you stand on the manual review versus bot discussion?
So this is another reason why we need to have an ambassador program, because I know that YouTube's answer would probably be like, the more manual reviewers we have, the more expensive it is, which is why we need to have an open communication, because that's just the reasoning that we all come to, but we don't know what the actual cost is of having more manual reviewers versus, bots and stuff. But what I really can't get behind, though, is that an algorithm, a robot, can make the decision without human intervention that something needs to be taken down. So this document that I sent to Augie here, there's a point in here that is directly related to what you're talking about here. So there's 3 tiers that I bring up as a solution to this. The third one being that ambassadorship program. Tier 1 is true transparency and equity, not just lip service. Tier 2 is open human communication. And in Tier 2, if there is a video removal required, this should not be done automatically by AI, but a human being who issues a removal order that is further reviewed by a secondary human check to ensure it truly requires removal. In the case of especially egregious content that should be removed from the platform immediately, such as like somebody's uploading straight porn or something, or ISIS beheadings, an acceptable practice could be to put the video into a forced private mode pending human review to confirm that the content should be removed. So in the cases where there's just not enough human reviewers, but the algorithm has seen that there are clear indicators that this is against terms of service and it's doing damage by leaving it up on the platform, force it into like a forced private mode pending a human review when a human being can actually confirm that that's actually the case. And then
I kind of see where you're going with this, and so you understand that obviously to do this there would have to be a very sizable, like there needs to be a much larger number of people working on this project, right? Like we would need at least like 50 to 100,000 new employees, right?
I don't know if that's necessarily true, and there's a reason why I say that. So it could be true. You could be totally right, but we don't know, because we don't know how things are actually operated behind the scenes. Now, I've talked to people that, and this is
we will soon.
This is gonna sound a little more conspiratorial and all that, but like this is just kind of the rumor mill that I've heard, is that, and it seems apparent to me just based off the interactions that I've had with YouTube, is that behind the scenes it is a giant clusterfuck. I mean, the human review team and the rest of the departments at YouTube, there is a lot of friction there. And so because YouTube and the way they operate things is so opaque, we don't know if there are specific things that could be done at their level that could make them more efficient. So instead of, say, having to hire thousands of new employees, keep the same employees, but instead of them having to do task A, B, and C, have them do E, F, G instead, because those specific things could be better handled by bots. But I'm talking specifically about video removal. And I think there could be definitely a tiered sort of thing where if a video is gaining a whole lot of traction from a channel that is in good standing, that doesn't have like community guideline strikes and things like that, there's no reason.
Yeah, I reject that, but I agree to a certain extent. I wouldn't say on video removal. I would say on strike awarding. I think that YouTube needs to be able to take down a video at like a drop of a hat in case an account that is in good standing gets hacked or something and starts promoting crypto scams. And wouldn't this be a great porn or?
And wouldn't this be a great discussion to have in front of YouTube, where I have one particular stance, you have another stance, and then if there were other ambassadors a part of this discussion talking to YouTube, we could come to some kind of agreement on what would be acceptable. The point is that we would have an open dialogue of communication on what a good solution is for specific things.
The reason why I asked this is because I was wondering if you're like familiar with the lawsuit.
Which one?
There was a lawsuit. I think it was filed like 4 days before Max's first video came out. So it was like, what was he? The September 25th he posted Answer Us PedoTube. I think it was the 21st. A former employee was actually suing YouTube because she got PTSD from having to watch these videos.
Facebook
these
has the same
videos.
problem.
Yeah, no, this was around the same time because she had to watch like beheadings, shootings, child abuse, and stuff like that. She couldn't sleep. So they had to like offer, I believe, some sort of therapy or something like that for some of these people who go through this.
That's a huge thing. Have you ever watched the Lad Bible video where they interview somebody at Facebook that had to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that video?
I've seen portions of it, I think.
Man, it's dark as fuck, dude. It's awful. And so I totally get where you're coming from.
But this
and
is an expensive job to host, is what I'm saying.
It is. And I don't have a good example. I don't have a good solution. I have like a few ideas, but like I don't know how implementable they are. One of my friends who is extremely good at some of this kind of stuff actually did help create an algorithm based thing where they did lower the amount of human exposure somebody has to that content that for somebody that's in that specific type of situation. Now that's an extreme example. Obviously ISIS beheadings, stuff like that.
Yeah. But like a lot of shit gets shown in rapid succession.
I think you could absolutely silo certain types of content that would need to see human eyes.
See, this is way too like specific. Like I don't know if YouTube has the capability to silo content into different areas and the different people.
They absolutely.
If it's instantly uploaded, you think that before my video processes when people are at like, I'm not really sure. Like,
so the way that some algorithms work is obviously it's going to, if it's going to remove a video, there is a report that is behind the scenes of what it was removed for. And we know that because when YouTube tells us what the video is taken down for, it tells us basically what the robots told them. And if it's taken down because extreme violence and things like that and all that, like if it's an actual ISIS beheading, I think you're going to find that most of the time that people have a problem with a video being taken down, it's because of stuff like that. So if somebody's actually going to go through the effort of saying, hey, can you look at this? I don't think they're going to try and advocate for an ISIS beheading video. Usually, I'm not saying that like,
no, but there's a huge problem that you're not considering. So when we're thinking of YouTube employees, I'm assuming you're thinking of like the guys from Texas, the people I'm talking about, the girl who just got PTSD, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The problem is YouTube outsources so much of this shit. Are you familiar with the gay controversy?
I know a lot of it's outsourced to like India and stuff.
Dude,
the gay controversy in terms of like the titles and stuff where they used to be like
there were people who just grew up in places that fucking hated gay people, so they were just demonetizing all the LGBTQ videos. Dude. Like there's an inherent problem with like with manual reviews as well. Like bots suck.
You're talking about a problem that evidently isn't quite as big of a problem anymore because YouTube had the ability to discern.
Yeah, because they got called out for it in a way that didn't go YouTube like,
and therefore
promotes pedophiles.
and therefore, YouTube absolutely, like you were saying, YouTube doesn't have the ability to silo content, but that's evidence that they absolutely do have the ability, and it's built into the system already. That it's already siloed.
Wait, how so?
Because when your video is removed, the robot basically...
No, I'm not talking about removing. I'm saying that when videos would go to be manually reviewed, the people from like third world countries were just like, oh, demonetize the gay. Like that was that's like, I don't think it's being siloed into like, all right, send all the gay videos to Kuwait. Like...
Nice.
But you know what I mean? Like this is again, like I don't think that you're in bad faith. I don't think like I think the conspiratorial stuff earlier on was a bit weird, but like I get where you're coming from.
Points but every single point and every single counterpoint that you're making are things that could be discussed. But every point that I'm making and every counterpoint that you're making boils down to supporting the fact that that having some kind of open communication with YouTube where we could at least discuss it. And if there are barriers to implementing these ideas that we have, we can hear about them and then think about it and then maybe propose things from our end that could help YouTube and YouTube help us. The point of it is that that third tier is labeled very specifically that it's a collaborative effort to build the platform, because we all want it to be successful, and we don't want people not watching my videos because parents are like, you can't watch YouTube because there's ISIS beheadings on there.
I agree with every fucking thing you just said. So the part that blows my fucking mind is why we're all surrounding the person who calls this website PedoTube, because PedoTube isn't opening that discourse. That's not happening through this hashtag. I'm sorry. I think 2/3 of that video where all those YouTubers are talking all about their own struggles and issues, I wish we could have that discourse, but I think this does a disservice to people. And I think that the only person who's going to like reap the rewards of hashtags like answer us pedotube or like pick a side, pedos are children, unfortunately, is Max. Max is the only one who's going to grow off of this. And it's not going to open a discussion. I'll be very surprised if it does. And you know what? I'll owe you a personal apology if YouTube starts this ambassador program.
So one thing I said to you on Twitter, which is what you actually finally blocked me on, which was that I think you and I have a completely different worldview on what the goals are for an individual creator, whereas I feel like your perception is that it's growth over everything, whereas there are people like Max that I can personally attest to on a personal level genuinely cares about the content that he's making in terms of what he's trying, the changes are that he's trying to implement. So if he gets burned for this, and he even said that in the video,
content I make, dude, I make like 3 videos a year now, dude. I have to care about him, otherwise I'll never get them out.
Right, but like, I mean,
I'm not like defending pedos, like, but I mean,
am I getting bigger? Am I relevant? Am I, things like that,
dude, if I was thinking if I'm getting bigger or if I'm relevant, I'd be uploading more videos. Like, I really don't think that we're like, I think we're different in terms of the fact that I don't dedicate my entire platform to like fucking defending children. I talk about a variety of things that interest me on a daily basis, but I'm not going to sit here and just say like I'm being a massive like corporate shell. To be honest, actually, I haven't announced this publicly yet. I got offered like a very large sum of money to not do my channel anymore and just work for Keem. And I literally just declined that like 2 days ago and went back to making my YouTube videos. So yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, dude. We have like, dude, I don't think we want different things.
Take the money, Nick.
Yeah. No, I turned it down. I turned it down.
You turned down money to upload videos to your own channel that you don't even upload to? What, dude?
Cheesy thick Dorito
I turned the website and all this stuff.
Fan artist.
What I want to know more. Like, what was their reasoning? They were just like, we don't like your content.
What do you mean?
What did they have a vested interest in a particular topic that you were covering?
Wait, who?
The people that offered you the money to stop.
No.
What was their vested interest in offering you money?
Keemstar offered me a large deal to to exclusively upload on his channel, with the exception of like 2 videos a year on my channel, and to run his website.
Like he wanted to hire you as part of his team.
He wanted me to like.
That's a little different than we will pay you to just delete your channel and go away.
No, that's not what I was trying to. Oh, I'm sorry if that's what you got out of it. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. I was just saying that like I had the opportunity to post whatever videos Keem wanted me to make and not actually give a shit about anything I talk about. So like, yeah, that's kind of where I stand.
But basically, part of that is that he would have exclusivity to your likeness and all that.
Well, no, part of that would be like Keem goes, I want you to cover this topic, and then I have to dedicate my time to covering that topic. Whereas for my channel, it's just like I like this. This is what I'm passionate about.
I mean, honestly, yeah. I'd take it. Just
a lot of people.
Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, at that point, you're just a reporter. And a lot of times your beat is not necessarily the one that you always want, but you can use it to get into something else.
Dog, I ain't a journalist. I'm an asshole.
You and I agree on a lot of things. I'll say that.
I don't know. Dude, to be honest, I really mean this because I do have to get going soon. I want to prep a little bit for the conversation. But I genuinely actually had no idea who you were. Like, that wasn't a lie. I literally didn't know who you were.
That's so full of shit, dude. You and I have crossed paths so many times.
When?
You were on the Slush podcast, and we were.
No, I wasn't on the Slush podcast.
Yes, you were.
I've never been on Slush's podcast. I was in Slush's chat.
You were in chat. You were in chat.
You thought I knew who you were off of chat? You had like 50 50 people there.
And then I came after you were going after Oki and
Oki. Wait, so why
Oki's
did
weird
you
stories.
have me blocked, but I didn't have you blocked?
Because I
usually just
straight
block
up did.
people.
It's straight up because I just didn't want to see you on my timeline.
But wait, if you had me blocked, how the fuck would I have seen you?
I blocked you after that.
But like, I don't know. The Oki stuff was like 6 months ago.
Okay, listen.
I don't remember
I know you have
Twitter
the brain cell
interaction that I
capacity
have
of an
in 6
amoeba,
months.
but the what I'm telling you is that I had you blocked after you pissed me off, and I just decided I just didn't want your toxicity on my timeline.
The problem with this argument is like I didn't know who Oki was when I got into the fight with Oki that day, so I definitely didn't know who you were. I found out who Oki was through the debate.
You just drive me crazy because you brand yourself as this debater and all that, but you're just a
I'm not a debater. I'm a YouTube
we're literally
commentator.
debating right now, dude. Either way, you get into debates with people online, and you even say you're a debater in those. Like you actually said it in the video with I think it was Oki, maybe it was somebody else, but like
the conversation.
But you said no. But you straight up said we are debating, and you
it was
said
a scheduled
something
debate
along the lines, and you got some kind of one-liner on him. And you said, "Oh, is it because I'm using standard debate tactics?" No,
he said that I was. He called me a slimy, weaselly fuck, and I asked him if he was doing debate tactics. That was a meme.
Is there? Do you disagree with that?
Yeah, I wasn't being slimy. I think Oki just had no idea what he was talking about. If you want to talk about copyright, sometimes I think we could, but like for the most part, like I don't think he came off making a lot of emotional pleas, like. It ought to be this way, and I agreed with that. But like, that's just not how
on
it
having
is.
a super fan that paid $5 to let you know.
I didn't. Wait, what?
In chat.
I didn't. Oh, hey, I should have a super fan that pays me. What the fuck? Don't pay Augie.
Right? Yeah, pay Augie.
I'm just saying, like, in the copyright debate, he was arguing like what ought to be. Like, he didn't know what safe harbor was before he got into the call, which is like, dude, I'm sorry. It's just like, I get this bad faith thing a lot. I think we had a perfectly fine conversation.
Because you're more interested in scoring like one-liner points than arriving at an honest conclusion. Typically, I'll be honest. Wait,
how could you say that after this conversation?
The literal next half of that sentence was, "That's why I've been so surprised with this conversation because you actually." This was literally the first conversation I've ever heard you have with anyone where you actually seemed genuinely interested in arriving at an honest point of discussion rather than just scoring points in a debate environment.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, I was hostile with Oki because I thought Oki was being a retard, and then he challenged me to a debate. So I like.
Oki's a retard, but he's my retard.
I mean, Oki's the only guy in that whole friend group who I think is literally the only one I don't have blocked. Because at least he respects me.
Well, the thing is, like, all these people that you railed against, though, are all my friends, and so I mean, that should all right.
Well, that's understandable, dude. That's understandable.
So I go to bat.
That's fine. I'm not like, yeah. I guess I do the same sometimes.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you for the conversation. This was fun.
All right, man.
And I'll let you guys go. Peace out.
All right.
See you later, man.